Yeah, hey, great atmosphere today in here. Really pleased that we had a crowd like we did on Sunday night. Just a great opportunity for not only these two young ladies, but our program in general and for our team. Obviously, you're playing against a high level opponent, and they're number one for a reason. So, but I thought we had some moments in the game where there's some good takeaways, and anytime you get a chance to play against the best, you get stressed in many areas, and it allows you to continue to teach and try to continue to get better as a team. And so we've got to now button it up and get ready for the Big East tournament this weekend. But yeah, just a great feel out there, and the games I've been here. In the 19 games we played, it's one of the better crowds we had in terms of filling the place. And I know it was probably more pro UConn than us, but at the same time, in terms of the exposure of the game, like I said, our administration and our university backing it, and uh, including the league as well, I think it's a big step for us.
We'll take questions for the players.
Could each of you just speak about what it meant to play in Madison Square Garden before? What was, we understand, the biggest crowd ever for St. John's women's basketball?
Yeah, I feel like it's a really great thing for our program. We were really excited going into it just to play at a very historic, arena. So many great players had been through there, and just it was very surreal just playing on that court. So yeah, it was fun going out there and just playing with my teammates, and I'm glad we had the opportunity.
Right. Exactly. It's a great atmosphere. The energy was there, and um, a lot of legends playing on that court. So it was just a blessing to go out there and just play with my team and under my coaching staff. I had fun.
Hi, question for Samaya. I met your mom and your sisters and I guess niece and nephew. What was that like for you having them here, coming up from Georgia to watch you play here?
Honestly, it's a blessing to have that support staff behind me. They're the ones that I talk to every day, and just to keep me up, keep me in the right mindset. So I'm just happy to have them right there, and just to be able to see their face, just coming from Atlanta, Georgia. So I'm happy for them.
When you were being dominated, but you all kept playing hard together. So what are you trying to accomplish when, you're probably not going to win the game, but you can improve aspects of your play by being tenacious? So what do you hope to accomplish in terms of getting good skills that you'll use in the next game?
Exactly what you said. Just to better ourselves, work on everything that we need to work on, and just have the right mindset, the next play mentality, and just work on what we need to work on for further games.
Just a question for you, Samaya. I guess what's like the challenge of trying to you're never gonna stop a player like Sarah Strong, but to try to contain her to the best of your ability and play around her?
I would just say get up on her, have her think a little bit, just not make it too easy. So just get up on her, be a bother. That's the best I can do. So.
Any other questions for the players?
So this for the players. I mean, this program has beaten UConn in the past. UConn has been the standard. A lot of coaches and players talk about that. I mean, when you look going forward, I mean, is that something that you look at, maybe one day being able to beat them again like you have in the past?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like every single time they're on their schedule, we go into the game with a winning mentality and wanting to win, and believing that we can win. And as they're a great team. That's no secret. So just coming in there, embracing the challenge, and just playing together.
Any other questions?
I got a question for when I watch you play, you're so used to driving to the rack and finishing, but what did it feel like to knock down a couple threes in the garden?
It felt great, if I'm being honest. Yeah, they do a good job of clogging up the paint, so it kind of allowed me to kind of spread the floor a little bit. So yeah, it felt good knocking down those threes. So I was smiling a little bit. My teammates did a good job finding me, so it felt really good.
This is for both of you. What are some areas you're looking to work on going into the Big East tournament? This is for both of you. What are some of the areas you want to work on going into the Big East tournament?
I would just say something that we can work on just based off this game is rebounding, you know, handling the ball, limiting our turnovers.
I think there's always been an appetite for basketball, regardless. You know, in the city and obviously within the state. But I think, but yeah, I think there's always been an appetite. You know, I think the women's game is growing tremendously. When you look at, you know, what's been going on, and obviously what they've been doing in Brooklyn, and obviously what the Liberty have done in terms of the success they've had in recent time. When you just look at women's basketball in general and the exposure it's getting, you know, we played a game here last year. It wasn't even on TV. You know, I mean, how does that happen? So, you know, I think the city embraces it, but I think there's a lot of basketball fans that embrace it. And you know, maybe you put this game at 2:00 or at noon, it's sold out. I mean, you know, I think we lost some folks just because it was a little late. It's a little tougher for some families. But at the same time, really grateful that we had the opportunity to get in here. The schedule is really hard when you have the Knicks, the Rangers, our men's team. There's a lot of things going on. So our relationship with the Garden goes back many years, and we're very grateful for it, and will continue to be. But no, I think people want to watch a great product. You know, obviously, we hope we're going to be better to play better against the team at that level. But you're watching some elite basketball, you know, out there tonight. And I don't just mean on their side, but at times where we play well, I feel like we're pretty good. And so, yeah, no, I think there's always been an appetite. It's just going to continue to grow. But the better you are, the more people want to see it.
Joe, piggybacking off that, would you push to have a game at the Garden next year against UConn again, if you can, just as far as like it showed, you can do a standalone game and not need a doubleheader to draw a big crowd?
Yeah, I mean, look, I would push for whatever we can. I think obviously it's depending on where it would fall, and there's a lot of factors. But yeah, it would be great. But I also love playing in Matt Carnesecca too. There's a different feel there as well. When people were basically hanging from like the rafters in there last year to see Paige and all those guys. So yeah, I obviously will look at everything and hope that we can do it. You know, the opponent will have to see what matches up. I hope the league can look at that and kind of get ahead of it and be able to put us in a position to do it. And so, yeah, for sure. You know, I think it would be great.
When it comes to like Sarah Strong and AC Butter are probably 2 top 5 players in the country, and I guess if you had one of them, it'd be a blessing, but to have 2, it kind of feels like a cheat code. I guess what is the challenge of having not just like 2 star players, but an entire roster that's as loaded as UConn has?
Yeah, again, I say this a lot, but yeah, 24 years I've watched the cheat code be 5, 6 players. You know, when they had Sue Bird and Taurasi and that entire group, and they had probably the top 5 players in every position. They had the best player in every position. So I've kind of been born and bred through that, and that's always what I've said too. In the Big East, I've been pretty fortunate to be able to grow up trying to figure out how to beat the best coaches in the country. Yeah, when you look at the old league and what it was in terms of before we went to realignment, and then even when we went to realignment, the Hall of Fame coaches that were in that league kind of stand alone. And obviously Gino is probably at the top of that, or at least in my book. So as much as you want to talk about Sarah and AZ, and then you look at a kid like 11, and then they had Heckle, and they had the Blanca, and I think, you know, there's a lot there, but people overlook just kind of what has been built there. So I got a chance to experience it. I worked their camp in 2004 as a GA. I just was talking to Sarah outside and I got it firsthand because you realize real quick why they are the way they are, and a lot of it is to do with the players that come through there, but also they all improve. It's not always easy to coach great players. They've done it at the best, probably the highest level. I got cursed out by Maria Conlon in the pickup game because I didn't take a shot that was open, and so you find out real fast why. And you can only hope to be able to duplicate it. But look, they're healthy, they have depth, and I just told our guys, like, every game we play against them is a test for you to see where you are. And believe it or not, we were better in some ways in this game than we were there. And so the more you can face that, and that's why I've always felt it's been a good thing to have them, because you're going to face that, and whatever they show you, you're probably not going to see by anybody else. So when you get to that latter part of the year, and if you're good enough and fortunate enough to play in the postseason, like that type of strain and stress, people can't duplicate. And so I've always kind of embraced that in terms of how we try to coach them. But yeah, when they're firing all cylinders, they're real good, and that's why they're number one.
Coach, looking ahead to Friday, you guys are, looks like, matchup against Xavier. Just
Is
in
that
general,
what is that where we're at? Yep.
According to the bracket.
Yeah, you're probably right. By the way, I already knew. I'm just kidding.
No. Just going into the whole tournament and postseason experience, what are you looking for your team? What sort of things would you be focusing on this week?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's been a fun year, in terms of watching our guys' resiliency and how they've played. Playing on that first day is not easy in terms of trying to continue on. Xavier is a very capable team in our league. They almost just beat Creighton today. So you take it one game at a time. I think it's a bigger part of what next play means is certainly in the postseason. That means a lot more, that you've got to just kind of have a short memory on things and be able to move forward. But, when you're playing a team for a third time, you've got to figure out different ways to adjust and adapt. And obviously you're in a neutral site. So, and going back to the other question, like our league in many years, I think is very underrated. I think our league, the coaches are underrated. I think the players are underrated, and so we got to fight for that as well. I think constantly, but when you look at the teams you got to play, like, you got to show up and be ready, and then you got to be able to play possibly 4 days in a row. And so I thought today helps us in terms of you're in an atmosphere like MSG that you've got to go up to. Now it's not Mohegan Arena probably in a way, but it's going to feel that way in just in terms of the depth of your eye line and eyesight and noise level depending on when you play. Now Friday, maybe not, but as you move forward, you hopefully move forward, it gets pretty loud, and it's a pretty cool place to play. So, I'm taking that into account in terms of today's game as well. But, we'll prepare like we always do, like it's any other game. But obviously we know there's more on the line.
Any last questions for Coach?
Coach, I was able to see you play against Quinnipiac. That was a close game. You guys pulled that one out. Can you just talk about the resilience of your team and how you've been able to win 20 games, which for most programs is a standard, at least win 20 games?
Yeah, it's hard, as I told them in the locker room. But yeah, I think that was one of the early signs for me that we had something to us in terms of kind of coming back from the dead and finding a way to win that game. Now it turns out they've done well in their league, but for us to be on the road and coming off a loss to turn around and be able to take that game was good. But again, I think we've shown that. We've got to be able to show that for 40 minutes of games that we play. But no, I think, even today, the first 5 minutes of the game against them are so important, and we let it get away. And you try to teach them and coach them up on it. And you look at that first quarter, and you're looking uphill. The only chance you have is you got to try to not be able to fuel them, and we were fueling them. So, but no, I think the resilience we've had shows, because you look at the games we've lost, where we had to turn around, maybe in a difficult situation, whether it was a short turnaround or you're missing somebody, they've really found a way to kind of step up, and so shown a lot of growth from a lot of players that we have. I like the core group that we have out there, and I think hopefully that will pay dividends as we move into the Big East tournament and postseason.
Just a quick follow-up. What's it like to have Grant, a Connecticut player, playing for St. John's?
Look, it's we've had some good ones, from Connecticut. Sheena Stevens was probably the first one that was an All-American, just an incredible player. Brianna Brown. So we've had a few, but it's. I'm just happy when she plays well, and makes shots, and she's gifted. And you're seeing it now a little more as she's getting more time, and so, I love that kid, and I just want her to do well, and so yeah, it's obviously great. Tri-State's always great to have, some local flavor. Landscapes change where you have to be more national and almost international. But there's nothing better than watching kids like that succeed, and I know she's only going to get better.